Welcome to Inside Your Community Schools. This program was developed to answer top questions that community members have about what takes place inside your community schools. My name is Jeff Schuler. I'm the superintendent of District 200 and one of your hosts for this program.
And I'm Erica Liacano. I'm the Director of Communications for the school district. Welcome to Inside Your Community Schools. Today's topic answers a question. How do we make the decision to close schools for severe weather? And our first guest today is actually Dr. Schuler. So welcome.
Thank you.
So Dr. Schuler, what factors do you take into account as you make the decision to close school for weather-related issues?
It's a great question, and one that I do get asked a fair amount
Sure.
by community members, especially this time of year. But really, two main reasons why we would consider closing school for severe weather.
Mm-hmm.
One is in the case of a snow issue, where we're really potentially dealing with difficult or dangerous road conditions, and the second really is when we run into issues of severe cold. Where it would potentially be dangerous for students to be outside for some length of time. Mm-hmm. And so really the factors are different for those two particular emergencies.
So I see you have a chart in front of you, the wind chill chart. How do you use this chart to make a decision to close in the event of severe cold?
Yeah, so the National Weather Service does put out a wind chill chart, and really the purpose of the wind chill chart is to determine, based on the combination of actual temperature and wind speed, what is the maximum length of time that an individual could be outside without running into a danger of frostbite, especially to exposed skin or exposed areas. And so we use that chart, which again is confusing, because a lot of times parents will ask the question, just is there a temperature? Is there a magic temperature where it's too cold? And the answer is no. If you look at the chart, the actual temperature that might specify when we get inside of that kind of 10-minute window of time that we really pay close attention to. Candidly, the temperature can range from 35 below to zero when you can still hit that temperature. But again, it's that combination of temperature and wind chill.
And you referenced 10 minutes. What's the magic in 10 minutes?
Yeah, so again, we try to look at or predict how long reasonably a child would need to be outside on their trip to the school. So whether it's waiting at a bus stop for the bus to arrive, if the child happens to be a student who walks to our schools, how long would they potentially need to be outside on that walk into our schools? That's why we really key into that 10-minute window. And again, the trick for us is predicting or looking at what that actual combination is at the time that students are outside and on their way to school. Once they get to school and are inside of our schools, then we know we can control that environment, because they're not likely going outside for recess or any of those opportunities. So we're really looking at that window of time when students would be in transit to school, which also varies from our high schools to our middle schools to our elementary schools.
So I frequently see the district social media accounts and communications that come through asking, is school closed? Is school open? Do you ever make the decision to close school the night before?
Yeah, we have. We really do try to wait until the morning. Candidly, even the best of weather predictions they're predictions. And so unless we absolutely know what conditions are going to be like in the morning, we will often try to wait until the morning to really determine or see what conditions look like. And again, so that can vary based on whether we're talking about a cold event or a snow event. We didn't really talk a lot about kind of a snow event or situation, but in the case of a snow event, we get up very early in the morning. Our Buildings and Grounds Department and our Operations Services Transportation Department works closely with our villages, with their Public Works Department, to get a sense of what road conditions are like, at what point they anticipate roads being cleared off and certainly safe for our school buses and cars to travel. So we are generally up at about 4:30, doing that initial assessment so that we've got ample time. But to come back to your question of when, we really do try whenever possible to wait until the morning to make that decision, understanding that from a convenience perspective in terms of parent planning, that might not always appear to be ideal, but it's really what's best in terms of making the decision if it's safe to bring students or bring families into our school buildings.
Sure, sure. So what I heard from that was, unless you hear from us, always assume that school is open for the day.
That's our message to parents and students is assume that schools are open until we tell you otherwise.
So you mentioned when we tell you. So how do we communicate with our community that school is closed for severe weather?
So we use a couple of different communication channels. We certainly use our website. We use our email and emergency call system in the event of schools closing. That certainly is a situation where we activate our all-call system out, which will deliver a call, will deliver an email, will deliver a text to families. We do post it on our social media accounts, and then a number of our buildings have social media accounts where that's often copied onto theirs. But really, website, our email emergency call system, and our social media accounts is our primary channel. We do also, there's an emergency school closing system that a number of bigger media outlets maintain, and we do call in if we're closed, so that we would be on that list as well. But the most immediate form of communication would be our district call and email system.
Okay. So if school is closed, our middle schools and high schools are very busy places after school with activities and athletics. Should we assume that if school is closed, then all of those after-school activities are canceled, or how does that decision?
Not necessarily for the high school levels. So again, we will try to communicate that information with the message about school closing. So if in fact we absolutely know it's not going to be safe for students to travel roads or come to our schools later in the afternoon or evening, there are times when we'll make that decision in the morning. If there's a chance that road conditions or conditions may improve as the day goes on, and that some high school activities or contests may in fact still take place in the afternoon or evening, what we'll communicate with families is the importance of checking the website for the individual high schools. So if there's a chance that some of those activities will still run, we do tell families to please check back to that website for additional information, or look for communication from their individual coach or activity sponsor.
Sure, and I know both of our high school principals have got Twitter accounts that they're very active on, and I think we're going to be putting those up on the screen for you, those Twitter handles. So please check those Twitter feeds, check our social media. Those are the avenues of communication where we communicate the most timely information about after-school activities and sports. So
absolutely, and I think the most important thing that I just want to reiterate around decisions of school closing is it's about safety. And I understand for families that there certainly is a routine to school and the school calendar that families count on, and so we want to do our very best to honor that routine and honor holding school when we say that our calendar dictates that we should hold school, but it truly is about safety. If we determine that it truly is not a safe situation to bring families in, we are going to make that call. And I think the other thing too that I just want to remind families often in this is that there are times when we may determine that it's safe for us to get students to school. If an individual parent or guardian feels that it's not in their interest based on kind of what they how they perceive the the road conditions to be. That is an individual decision that a parent can certainly make.
Right.
But we are making that based on conditions for running our buses and getting folks in. And so we strive to always make the best decision we can for our students and families.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Schuler. This was very important information about how we make a decision to close school.
You bet. Thanks for joining us on Inside Your Community Schools. This program was developed to give community members key information and answer questions that you have for what takes place inside your community schools. If you have a question or a topic you'd like us to consider answering in a future episode, please email us at communications@cusd200.org, and I look forward to seeing you inside of one of your community schools.